All right, here we go. Huge day for us as a nation. When you're talking about Donald Sterling, what does the NBA do? They have to take a huge action. What are we expecting, Hannah?
Well, you know, regardless of what the NBA decides, the fans are gonna protest. Regardless, nothing's gonna be enough. They really can't strip him of his ownership. He's never gonna be welcome back in Staples Center and any other games ever again. It's over for him.
Also, we're gonna look back at kind of his history with discrimination. He had some pretty serious allegations that he settled for housing discrimination against minorities. He would not accept rent from African Americans that lived in his buildings, and then he would use that against them and evict them, saying they never paid. But he wouldn't accept their rent.
Everybody knew this. So now all of a sudden, everybody's up in arms. And certainly when you hear the tape, but from what we gather, things that were alleged in that lawsuit that you're talking about are worse than things on this tape.
He has a very, very lengthy history of blatant racism, discrimination in Los Angeles. This is not new. It's just now I think the nation is catching on.
He was sued by his GM, Elgin Baylor, who's one of the greatest NBA players of all time, because Baylor was paid $500,000 less than any other GM in the league.
He wanted to run his team like plantation style, he said. He likes the idea. He used to bring in female women to the locker room and say, look at this beautiful black men. Like, who says things like that? You're talking about human being, your players, your employees beyond that, and talking to them like livestock. Totally insane.
So the NBA can't, I don't understand, they can't strip him from his power, as he's the owner, but they're basically the league. Like, why can't the league?
They can't, he owns the team, right? So he owns, like, that's his property, the team is. What he can do is take away all his rights as GM, meaning you can't help in trades, you can't make decision making. Basically, you're just the pocket, and you're not allowed to come to the game. And as you said earlier, one of the benefits of being a GM is that you get to get any seat that you want. You get to go anywhere, and he's not going to be welcome. You can't imagine him come to the game and the LA fans or any fans are going to publicly or openly welcome him. I mean, it's the end.
There's no fixing his image or reputation. It's over. He's radioactive. He's got to go.
But just when you think, okay, why didn't somebody go after him? And then Elgin Baylor, who is black, is a GM. And he was one of the first African-American GMs. So you think, whoa, maybe Donald Sterling. And then he fires white coach Vinny Del Negro and hires African-American coach Doc Rivers. So then, you know, a couple of those actions may have called off some of the action against him through the years. Next up, a terrible story in my neck of the woods, miles from where I live, a shooting at a FedEx building.
A guy walks into a FedEx building, opens fire, 6 people are wounded, and then he takes his own life.
They must have known something, because they didn't shut down the schools. They didn't, my daughter goes to school a mile away, and they didn't lock down the school.
Before school,
But at 8:30 they were still out there and had said that this guy was dead. Yeah, and I think he was dead before then.
Boy, we've always got a title for these parents who do something questionable. Now it's skateboard dad. Lisa, what happened? This dad shoved his kid off a skateboard ramp?
Kicked him, not shoved him. He just kicked him and just walks off. And another 13-year-old recorded this, put it on Instagram, and it's gotten so many people like commenting on what was he thinking. And now DFAX is checking on him.
This is your typical overzealous dad.
Exactly.
You know, come on, do it. You know, doesn't even compute that the little guy's 6 years old, but that's my kid. He's got to do what the other kid's doing. Come on, go! And that's what you got.
It does happen. I do not approve of what the dad did at all. I can see how something like that would happen. I see how parents now react at sports games. You have parents jumping in doing things like, you're not letting a kid be a kid. Like, why does a kid need to be the skateboard pro that you're kicking him off of a ramp? Granted, thankfully this little kid is okay. He was safe. He wasn't injured. But this was something that the father just went he crossed the line, repeatedly crossed the line, and just walked away and left his son. He didn't even look back after he kicked it. That's the thing that got me. If you kick, you realize, like, when do you realize what you've done? He just walked away from him. He just left him.